Hi, and welcome to the Slice of Healthcare podcast. I'm your guest host, Christina Anderson, and I have the honor and privilege of being joined by Jared Taylor, the CEO and co-founder of BlocHealth. Super excited to be here with you, Jared. You're obviously the host for this podcast. Everyone that's listening knows who you are. And so we'll definitely get into, why we're here, why you're being interviewed, which is that your company, BlocHealth, was acquired by SteadyMD. So super excited to get into all those details. So before we jump into the details and share more with the listeners about this acquisition, why don't you share a bit more about yourself, who you are, where you've been? Would love to hear the background. I'm sure your listeners are also keen to know more about who Jared is.
Absolutely. Well, first off, thank you for agreeing to be the guest host. I was super excited that you were willing to do this. For context, everyone, I met Christina at the Vive conference in Miami Beach a couple months back. Doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but it was. And we had the opportunity. Her background was partnerships, M&A. You've been involved in like all the interesting parts of healthcare, and it was great getting to know you a little bit. And super thankful that you agreed to host this. Feels weird being on the other end of this after we've done over like 400 episodes now. So being on the other end of this is kind of wild. But very excited to be here today. Just for my background, I'm Jared. I started BlocHealth back in 2017, but really I say like my journey started when I went to school. I went to a small college called Franklin Pierce University on a tennis scholarship. I was the first in my family to graduate from college, and it took me about a year into college to realize that I didn't want to maybe go the traditional college route of being there for 4 years to get my bachelor's. I wanted to get out as quickly as possible. So I ended up putting together some sort of plan, which I call a reverse transfer, where you get the dean to sign off on taking courses that match up with what you need to take to graduate, but you have them sign the paperwork to take courses from outside schools that align. So I brought a stack of like 20. And I got the dean to sign off on all of them so I could take these courses outside. Who knows if they thought I'd actually go ahead and do it, but I did. And that all started because I was told that if I wanted to take extra classes on campus, I would have to pay an overage charge to take the courses rather than just go pay outside to take courses and transfer them in. So I did that, ended up graduating in 2.5 years. There was 2 reasons I wanted to do that. One was I wanted to be making money and not paying money, so I wanted to get out of school quickly to not accrue any serious debt. And I wanted to put as much stress on myself as possible to have a different story when I went into interviews, because I wanted to go into like investment banking, or at least I thought I did at the time, and I figured that'd be a good story to tell. So ended up graduating, went to work for a boutique investment bank in Manchester, New Hampshire. Realized I hated it after 6 months. Team was great, company was great, just did not like it, the work was not for me. Ended up working for a company, Medicus Healthcare Solutions, on the sales side of things. Medicus was in the healthcare staffing consulting space. Learned a ton about healthcare there, and that's where I decided to start learning more once I decided to leave as well. And about 2017, left and took a couple months off to strictly just research, and then started BlocHealth in fall of 2017. Originally as a staffing marketplace, which Christina, that we talked about it, and then ended up pivoting after about 1.5 years, 2 years, because we realized it doesn't matter how quickly you place someone. If you can't get them licensed and credentialed in a timely manner, then it's all for nothing.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Love the story. I don't think I've ever heard of anyone completing a 4-year degree in 2.5 years, and certainly speaks to your grit and ingenuity, the reverse transfer, very strategic thinking there to get yourself out of college as soon as possible. So BlocHealth, you pivoted right before the pandemic, I was listening to one of your podcasts a few episodes ago, and you mentioned, ideal state for a startup is, you don't pivot, but of course, sometimes in the natural evolution of a startup, you do have to pivot, and that's what you guys ultimately did right before COVID, and that's kind of, what your business is today. So can you tell us more about BlocHealth, how you started? You shared a bit about that already, but a bit more about the pivot and where you've been the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, the vision doesn't change. But the business model, I say stick with your vision,
Yeah,
but change the business model if needed.
sure. Yeah.
And that's your pivot. So, yeah, I mean, we just got out of being like we were a staffing marketplace for nurse anesthetists and anesthesiologists. That was just where I had a good understanding, nurse practitioners, other physicians. I just understood that space. And then decided to go into the credentialing side of things after realizing how much credentialing can actually help all facets of healthcare administration. We did case studies at hospital systems, and that was the most research I ever did in my life, is when we were getting ready to pivot, because I didn't want to pivot again after that. I think it's okay to have a big pivot once.
Sure.
More than that, it's just what did someone say? Entrepreneurial ADD, right?
Yeah,
Which
I like that. Yeah.
Which many entrepreneurs have. So we ended up pivoting and did a ton of research, learned as much as we could. We brought on a killer VP of licensing credentialing, and Tiffany Long, who is fantastic. And she was kind of here with us since day one, and ended up launching the credentialing side of the business, which was the main thing, in about a month before the pandemic hit. And then started signing digital health companies. But our initial understanding was, wow, this is going to be great for private practices, maybe to manage their licenses and maybe get someone licensed in 1 or 2 states. And then pandemic hit, and it was no, they want licenses in all 50 states. They want to get set up with the insurance companies in each state. So it kind of snowballed from there. And fast forward to today, we work with many of the top digital health companies, and we take pride in helping them scale the portion of their business that we're experts in.
Yeah, that's great. And it sounds like your company really got in there at a time none of us expected, the pandemic to happen, right? And it sounds like the company, the products, all of it really met a very real need that was faced in the healthcare space during the pandemic. So can you tell us more a bit about the acquisition by SteadyMD? How it happened, the story, all of that good stuff.
Sure. I'll just flash the shirt real quick because I changed into my SteadyMD
I love
shirt.
It. Yes.
But it really all started, to my understanding, when I kind of look back at everything. I first met the CEO and co-founder, Guy Friedman, by having him as a guest when he was one of the earliest guests on Slice of Healthcare podcast, probably definitely before episode 60. So within that 30 to 60 range episode, that's when he came on the show. He came on the show to talk about, I think they just raised their it might have been their seed or their Series A. And it was when they were a virtual primary care startup. So before they had their pivot as well. And we just got to know each other a little bit, stayed in touch over the years, because I think that was back 2 years ago. So I've known him for maybe almost 3 years. And so we stayed in touch, and then I started seeing him at some conferences, met up at Health in Boston recently, which Health, amazing conference. So was Vive, so was the ATA conference. Love going to all these events. And just met with him, talked through some more stuff. His co-founder, Yaron, was also there. Yaron's awesome as well. And we just kind of talked about, how we think together we could do great things. And then it was later in the conference when I met someone that just got acquired, and they said you only do that if your vision aligns with the company that wants to acquire you.
Yeah.
And together you think you can achieve that vision more easily. So that was clicked.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it more. It wasn't a yes then. It was I thought about it more, and then just had conversations with the SteadyMD team over the months after that.
Yeah. I love that. I think and mentioned already on the call that I spent a few years in corporate M&A and for a large healthcare corporation. And, it really is so rare and so incredibly exciting when two companies come together and they have this sort of shared vision. And there's so much more value that can be created with the two companies together than apart. And it sounds like that's exactly what's happening here with SteadyMD and BlocHealth, your company. So that's so exciting and kind of like the ultimate dream setup for an acquisition. So that's great. Could you share more about what the acquisition means for BlocHealth, maybe SteadyMD as well, employees, customers, all of that?
Yeah. So the team was really excited about the acquisition. We're still remaining a separate entity. So we'll still continue, executing on our end, but also supporting each other, where applicable. It really, what it means is everyone gets to, when you're at a startup, everyone wears all these different hats. That doesn't change. We're still wearing different hats, but
Yeah.
I would say we're able to focus in, each of us, a little more on what we're experts in. So I'm excited to dedicate more time to, my big passion being sales and marketing, and how we can continue to build out our customer and our partner base, to see how we continuously help them. So I'm really excited for that, but really just comes down to keep grinding. The grind doesn't stop. It's just we're working with someone, closely now to just make that grind even bigger.
Yeah. I'm excited for you guys, and I'm sure the growth is only going to be, exponential from here now that you guys can focus your efforts and you have the SteadyMD team as well behind you. Super, super exciting. Could you share a little bit more about the next steps? What's next for BlocHealth? What's on your radar?
Yeah, next steps is just continuing to work together to make this as smooth, a transition as possible. We're working very closely together. I told you, we are separate, but how can we work together on some deals, build these right partnerships out that help us both continue to grow? So that's really my focus, and continuing to make sure the team and everyone's excited, which they are.
Yeah.
But you have to constantly stay in contact and make sure that we're all in a good space. And I'm really pumped for what the future holds for both of us. And I'm only sharing with you a piece of it today and with everyone here, but I am like over the moon about what this means for the two organizations, and it's going to mean some really big things.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Well, thank you, Jared, so much for the time. And again, major congratulations to you, the entire BlocHealth team, SteadyMD as well, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Absolutely, and hopefully we can have you come back on as a guest host. You did excellent. That was terrific, and it's always fun talking with you. It was so great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Talk soon.